Should have made Jim come here tonight instead of going to the basketball game.
Probably less stressful on him.
It would probably be better if he was here.
Yeah.
Well, at least he won't be arguing with the officials because it won't make any difference.
They
They got
Make
a
lists
tournament
do-
game tonight.
Yeah, they gotta play Anthem Stadium.
Did anyone
That's pretty
besides
quick
yourself notice
response,
the
huh?
applicant said the meeting
I bet
was
you
Monday?
know.
Heath girls.
Oh,
They're playing good.
yeah,
91.
it's the second time they're doing a holiday on a Monday, and the applicant
Lately
said.
they
Just
have.
like that.
Is this a sectional or game?
Second game of the tournament.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna say, here's some conflict.
Well,
5:30 and the street department. Start the meeting, Bob.
Number one on the agenda, we had, Street Department hired a new man, and he started today. His name is Bill Gordon. And he got to ride around with the guys, didn't get called out last night, but he got to ride around, in the truck with the guys and get a little bit of feel for what we do. And, this, I don't know what you call it, it wasn't a whole lot of snow, more ice, but it was a difficult thing to deal with last night because once it got on the pavement, it was hard to get back off, and they put a lot of rock salt on it, and really didn't have a chance to break up until later this morning when the temperatures rose a little bit, and also got some traffic on it, so we had a 2-hour delay with the school, but there was really nothing that we could do to make it much better than what it was. And then as you saw as the day progressed, pretty early in the morning, it started to break up pretty quick. But because of the temperatures dropping, and we were trying to put water on it, and the roads were frozen so bad that the water would hit and just run off, so the water wasn't really doing anything. So we just had to wait for it to form and some traffic on it, and I think it ended up working out pretty good in the day. So Bill got a little bit of experience on that today, but he had already some experience anyway with his other job, so.
Bob,
Yeah.
I'll share with you, you must not know, Bill worked till 7 in the morning plowing on 270.
Oh, he did? I didn't
They-
know that.
They called him out.
Is that right?
Yeah. And so he worked all night in Columbus, and,
Nothing like working right up to the last minute.
well,
From job to
he said he
job,
had,
yeah.
I think apparently had turned in his keys and stuff, and they had the weather hit, and they had a truck and had his phone number, and they called him.
Huh.
So, that is fun.
Yeah, I saw him today, but I didn't hear that story, so. Anyway, you got a little bit of experience today on that. Number 2 on the agenda, Susan is here from Job's, and to answer any other questions you have on the sign reflectivity that we have to do, and the street signs, and also the mayor and Susan and I had a meeting, and we have some recommendations for you that we came up with the street signs. So I'll turn it over to Susan now.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Mhm.
I'll start with the street name signs page. And what I've tried to do is just kind of outline, starting with the federal government FHWA requirements and why we're now looking at new street name signs and how we can put these up. Basically, it's a mandate that the federal government came out with. It's in their manual of uniform traffic control devices, and it's requiring 6-inch letter heights on your street name signs. Now that's for your low-speed roadways. High-speed roadways are looking at 8-inch. But at least in Heath, you're primarily looking at your 6-inch letter heights. They want an upper and a lowercase combination. The first letter upper, the rest of them would be lowercase. And then also you'd have to meet the standard reflectivity, which will be the next item we talk about. But like Bob said, I've met with the mayor and himself, and we've talked about just the look of the street name sign for the city. The picture that you're seeing there is a brown sign with white letters, and then the post would be a powder coated brown as well. And that would meet the federal requirements. Street name signs can be either green, blue, brown, or they can be white with black letters. And those all meet the Fed's requirements for colors. And then the next page you'll see also a brown sign, but on this one we've got the Heath logo. And that's something that certainly can be added to your street name signs if you like that look. The only additional cost would be for the sheeting, which isn't a large large amount, we're talking just a few dollars to add a little bit more square footage to that street name sign, the sheeting overall, and you could put your logo on there. Bob had his crews go out and they actually counted the street name signs in the city. We've got 208, and you're looking at about approximately $150 per sign. That's materials, so it's about $31,000. Yeah.
Question on that number, is that picture like you picture there, is that considered a street sign, even though there's 4 signs there?
You can do
And
it
those-
either way. You could put it, yeah, one sign with.
But what I'm
letters
getting at in the
both.
number
For the
is, when they
208.
counting, for the 208, are they
Oh, I
counting that
see.
as a 1 or is they counting that as a 4?
I think we just count the post, that's all.
So if they count the
Just
posts, what I'm
posts.
saying is, I don't think you can get that for $150.
Well,
And she's shaking her head. So, and that's what I keep wondering about this, when they keep coming up with numbers of like 208 street name
Because
signs.
there's actually 4 signs.
There's actually 4 signs there,
right.
4
right.
blanks that have to be done, and a post.
But
Yeah.
you were, I mean, would you put 4 signs or just 2 signs, can you do the front and the back or not?
You can do front and back, or
It depends on how you mount them and how you're fixing so you can read, because if you put it the one way, it just, you know, whether they're stuck out this way or they're like those kind, you know.
the cost included 2 signs and 1 post. So for each of the 208 signs that Bob counted, we gave 2 street name signs and 1 post. So this is just an example, you know, that we put in Photoshop and doctored up to make it look like the Heath standards. So I mean, yeah, if we change the mounting apparatus, it wouldn't have to be a 4 sign, it could be 2 signs.
You're talking about what would go on top of the post.
Correct.
Cause as I'm looking at this one,
There's 4 signs.
this
there.
one looks like it, you know, has those where you would bolt the sign to the different sides of the post, which obviously, if the post is here and you bolted the sign here, the backside isn't gonna be able to see that.
Exactly.
So, you're saying something that would go on top of that, where the sign would be like this and the sign would be like that?
Yes.
Can they be,
Yes.
can you get them for 150?
Yes, you can,
Back to back
with just
And
one,
then mounted.
and 2,
on top of the post?
yes. It would just be a different type of mount than what this
Okay.
example has. Yeah, you can.
So was, just to understand this, so this example was more to show maybe what the color and design would look like, as opposed to literally what it would look like, is that what you're saying?
Exactly,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, just to kind of give you a feel for the brown with the white letters.
I got you.
Is brown the same, are colors all the same price, or is
They
brown?
are.
Okay, so it
It
doesn't
would
matter
be.
what color it is, okay.
Yeah, basically it's a sheet that's just your reflective sheeting, and then it's a film they put over to give you your color. So whether it's a brown, a green, a blue, yeah, it wouldn't change.
then there's-
You mentioned something though when we met, Susan, about blue and green and brown. Like the state would pay, but if you had some other color, they wouldn't pay, or wouldn't pay as much. Can you explain that? Cause I don't recall.
If you deviate from what the federal standard is, and say you decide to have a purple sign, well, that's not the federal standard. Doesn't say you can't have it, because it's your municipality, you can put up what you want. But that, when doing a project, that could be looked at as a proprietary product, and then they would make you pay the difference if there was a difference. So, yeah, I mean, you're kind of opening the door, I guess, to have more cost later on if you don't stick to the standard federal colors.
Can I get another part of my
Yeah.
question? What about the poles being brown powder coated as opposed to anything? Is it gonna be, whether your poles are silver or brown or whatever, is it all in the ballpark of the same price, or?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
it would be. There's galvanized, which is what you see a lot of. I know Bob mentioned he has some things that are powder coated black.
No, they're not reflective.
No, the post would
They're,
not be,
they would not be reflective.
no, and they're not
Okay.
required to be,
Alright.
not on a street name sign.
Does any certain color fade quicker than another?
Not necessarily, it's probably more which direction you're facing your sign, you know, the way the sun's hitting it would affect it probably more than your color itself.
Regardless of what color you put in the sun,
There's no extra charge for putting the Heath logo on it, or there is an extra charge?
It would just be some additional sign, additional square footage for your sign. So when you would send them to the sign shop, you'd add, you know, a few more inches to put that logo on there too. I guess there's no added fee to printing the logo on there, it's just the additional material that you're putting it on, if that makes sense.
It'd still be had for the $150?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, that's what I was.
Now, the 150, that's a ballpark. If your street is 3rd Street, the number 3 RD, or if it's Andover, you know, this is maybe a $50 and that's your, you know.
Okay.
So it varies based on the length of the word itself.
Is the material of the sign specific to the number of letters for the street? In other words, if we had Tuscarora Street, would that be a really long one?
It would be.
And if it's Row Avenue, it's gonna be little short material.
That's correct.
So the aluminum or galvanized blank is gonna be cut to fit the words, the letters.
That's correct.
So that the
Yes.
signs will not be uniform in size?
No.
It's dependent upon the name of the street?
In
Yes,
width, they'll be uniform in height.
the street name, the letters, and the font type is gonna stay constant, and then the sign will get longer or shorter based on the street name.
But I doubt if you have a 3-letter name, you're not gonna make they're not gonna make, I mean, it's obviously just gonna have more space on the end, they're not gonna have something that's that, you know, a sign that big, I can't.
Sure. Yeah, basically what you would do is give to the sign manufacturer a list of, you know, we want signs for these streets, and they're gonna do a design. It's an ODOT standard program, meeting their specs, and, yeah, they would give you all the lengths for your signs.
And what's the purpose of doing all of this, you know?
Meeting the feds requirements, basically.
Right, do you have any idea what the
A
federal
lot.
thought behind it was?
I think there's been multiple different types of signs and standards that have been followed. This is kind of setting, you know, this is what we want, this is what it shall be from this point forward. So it's just getting everyone basically on the same page, making it 6-inch letter height, easier to see, better visibility.
It's for safety. But everything needs to be done by January 2012.
That's their compliance date, yes.
When was this, I don't know, whatever you wanna call it, law,
Mandate or?
mandate, or whatever, when was this enacted?
Which president, I think, is what he's fishing for.
I'm just-
2008.
Cause I read comments
I think
from
it was
the current,
2008.
I read comments from the current, what would this fall under, Department of Transportation? The current Department of Transportation Secretary kinda thinks this is ridiculous.
I've seen some articles lately.
That's, I'm just,
Yeah, they're talking, the city of New York alone's gonna cost them $21 or $22 million
Yeah, that's
to do their signs. That's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
You know,
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure when the mandate came out.
Well, the mandate came out January 22nd, 2008, that's when
Yeah.
it became effective. I'm
Punked
sure
out.
they were thinking about it before that, but that's when the mandate came out.
Now, January 2012, that is for just the street signs within the city? That's not all the signs that we've had?
No, just the street name signs. Yeah, just street name signs.
Susan, if I could skip to this one for just a second, Doug mentioned this in the question. When you emailed this over earlier today and I was taking a look at it, Bob and I were talking about this, and I just wanna make sure that everybody understands. When I look at the compliance dates here, it says January 2012, it says, by this date, all agencies will have to establish and implement a sign maintenance program that addresses, the minimum requirements. Not that we have to change out all the signs, it says we have to implement a program to doing that.
Correct.
But I know, and then January 18th, I think, or January of 2018, I think was originally when all street name signs and stuff needed to be switched out. Why did they push that requirement up to January of 2012 also? Why did they do that?
They're two different items.
Yeah, that, again, I'll explain that real quick. The mandate is still 2018 for street signs, but they're requiring you to have 6-inch letters by January 2012. With an uppercase letter of 6 inches, ours don't have them. So we would have to replace those signs. Then we could wait till 2018.
And replace them again.
The reflectivity, but you might as well do it all at one time.
Yeah.
And that's why it got bumped out, but they just kinda threw that ruling in, not too long ago about the 6-inch letters. That wasn't even, we didn't even know that.
That wasn't even in the initial
No, we didn't.
2008.
There was nothing in there.
2.5,
I don't know how that originated.
We've been
The
focusing
vertical
on
ones.
reflectivity.
About 4 inches.
Right.
And the letter height came up.
6 inches, that's a big, that's big letter.
Not for a sign. I'd be surprised if signs, when you see the highway, how big them,
Well,
they
that's
really
true.
are
That's-
instead of
yeah,
that.
that's true.
I mean, the traffic lights, those are 12-inch circles up there, and you look at them, they look like they're about
And when
that
I
big
read
around.
this,
You know?
like I said, I actually thought, oh, this doesn't say we have to have them changed out by 12, but then Bob said, yeah, well, they have to be 6 inches, and so by that, if you're gonna do that, you might as well
Do it all.
do it, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
very true.
Sorry. So is there a penalty that's clear? I mean, if you don't comply by 2012, is there a penalty that it's coming if you don't do it, or?
Not that I'm aware of.
Fingernails off.
Well, and this is where, this is just pure speculation on my part, but if the Secretary of Treasurer, or the Transportation thinks that this is bogus, they're the enforcement arm,
Right.
but
They
But
could
then
probably
if
get
we
an
go ahead and
executive
spend
order.
the money, and they decide, well,
You don't have
we're
to.
gonna drop it and you don't have to do it, then we're out to $32,000.
You have to, but
But
you
we
have
got
your.
nice
Oh, yeah, but we got some
We
nice
got
looking
really
signs.
nice
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think we ought to do like we had talked about doing back when Dan Dubs was the mayor, is do along your major routes, 79, 30th Street, Hopewell Drive, Irving Wick, and probably Thornwood, the streets that people are going 35 plus on. Cause the reason I said safety, it's, you're driving along, someone's not familiar there and they're looking for a cross street, and they're going along and all of a sudden it's like they hit the brakes, cause
Yeah.
they see it in the last
Yeah.
minute, cause ours you can't read right now.
That's right.
So they hit the brakes and the guy behind him's too close, so, that's one thing, so, to do them, but once you get into like the residential neighborhoods and stuff, do them a year or two from now, or as time goes on, or something like that, and just slowly do them, but get, we were gonna do like a pilot program and go along 79 to get them all uniform and looking nice and see how people liked it, and then start going down to other places and stuff, but I can't see changing all 218 locations right now, unless you got a heck of a good, price on them and whatever, but I still don't think that 150 is good price.
The 79 project, didn't you account for signs in it to be put in the median?
Yeah, all the
So
signs will
that's kinda
some of those signs
covered,
be.
right?
We
will be
have
covered.
these street name signs on the 79 project, and they'll be the brown with the white.
So that's covered then,
Mhm.
in that cost of that project.
Correct, that's correct.
Yeah, but that's only like 5 streets.
But you
know.
just said,
Yeah.
you were just saying,
Law, rule, suggestion, where these signs are gonna be put. I mean, does it have to be in a certain northbound side, such and such? Unfortunately, I've been traveling a lot, and Columbus, and they aren't real consistent, or their suburbs, real
Okay.
consistent of where to find the street sign.
Okay,
And, you know, sometimes it's up here, sometimes it's over here, sometimes it's over here, and the wife and I have a real problem deciding where to look, and especially with the guy behind me.
sure.
You know,
Sure.
it seems to me that would be a bigger help than the size of the sign if I knew where to look for it.
Yeah, they should be on the corner of all intersecting streets. Now, sometimes they are overhead. For example, on the 79 project, we do have street name signs on the mast arms as well. For example, Oberlin and Andover will have a sign up on the mast arm also. But the 5-lane roadway, you know, sometimes it's hard to see over on the corner if you're, you know, over a lane to see what's coming up. So those are beneficial. But yeah, basically we'd be putting them on the corners of all your intersecting streets.
But, like what he's saying, like, for example, you just look up there on, take the center one, if that was, the cross street, instead of being Radian and Putnam, if it was all one street name going across there, let's say that's First Street, and that's Main Street going this way, well, you got 4 corners, so theoretically, you could put one of these signposts on all 4 corners to make it so everyone can see no matter which corner you're looking at, or you could have it on any one of the 4 corners. And what he's saying, depending on where you're coming from, you know, you're going this way, it may be right on your right-hand corner, but it may be on the opposite side of the corner, it may be on that corner. So you actually have
Okay.
4 corners to look for when you're going down the street. Now, since that has 2 different names, and you're gonna have overhead signs, you're gonna have, you know, like you do now, Putnam, Radium, and stuff like that.
Right.
But I see what he's getting at. If it was just a 4-way stop, you got four places, and it's, sometimes if you have a stop sign, it's probably gonna go close to where one of the stop signs is and not on the other opposite corner, but still, based on utility poles and everything else in the road, it may be somewhere else. So I think that's what you're getting at, is it'd be nice if you always knew it was the northeast corner,
Yeah.
or the southwest
Yeah.
corner, or the, you know, northwest and southeast, west, whatever.
Old people have problems.
You know, that makes me think of another angle that I bet you know all about, Susan. A lot of main drags that you travel down don't have the main drags sign up.
Sure.
You just have the side streets. You know, if you go down through, I think on Broad Street in Columbus, there's a lot of places
Yeah.
where
There's just one
there's
sign.
just
It doesn't say
just the
Broad.
side streets identified. I guess they figure if you don't know where you are on Broad Street, you don't deserve to know where you are, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know if these federal guidelines have anything to do with whether you do that or not, or if that's old.
That sounds more like a preference of the municipality.